Wunderbar. Herzlich willkommen. Hello, everyone. We speak English tonight. Welcome to another edition of On Air, the online format of Swiss AI Weeks and Wildcard. Tonight we have Joël Bez with a really relevant topic, coding with AI, what you need to learn, unlearn, and rethink. This will be a presentation. Please post your questions in the chat for the Q&A after the presentation. And the session will be recorded and later uploaded to YouTube. So, Joël, I'm really excited to your talk. Over to you.
Thank you very much. And thanks to everyone for joining in tonight. I'm very excited to talk about this, as it has been my passion for the past month to work on those topics, and I would like to share with you my view and what I've learned during those months. So first, quickly about me. For those who don't know me, I'm Joe, as you said, also nicknamed Le Joe about everywhere on the web. A few months ago, after some time doing engineering leads or helping coaching engineering teams, I came back to development because it is such an exciting time to develop again. So I'm currently working at a company called Zyx. We do there I do software engineering, and we do websites focused on users and web apps also. And on the side, I started to share what I started to learn and share what I will peek into tonight, meaning anything around AI for coding, and I help teams and individuals to get faster on track with learning those techniques. So tonight with you, I would like first to do an overview of where we stand at, because it has been quite a few crazy months and even years, I would say, where we kept getting new things all the time. If we look around at the spectrum of what people are saying, on one side you can see very big promises from like 90%. You've probably heard this, that the Anthropic CEO mentioned that he thinks 90% of code will be done by AI within 3 to 6 months, which is actually today. The NVIDIA CEO said that you won't lose your job to AI, but you'll lose your job to somebody who uses AI. Sam Altman said that AI will make coders 10 times more productive in this, and this might even happen this year. And on the other side, I see some other signals where in the last Stack Overflow survey, we see the sentiment about using AI for coding that went down 10% comparing to last year. We see more and more a lot of reports about how flawed or how much security issues there is with AI. And also hear a lot of people I talk to in the teams how they explain how they struggle with getting to those promises we get. You also know this curve. This is a typical hype cycle with the famous peak and then the disillusion valley, which then leads to the plateau where we finally get something that we can use and that is not hyped anymore. Gartner analyzed where we are at with AI augmented software engineering, and they placed it around here on the curve, meaning they think we are about we've seen the biggest features that that are coming to us, and the companies are starting to get more concrete with what we are doing with those technologies. But as you see, there is a long downfall down there, and sometimes I'm even wondering if with the pace that we get things still in the past few months, if we already reached this peak. All that to say that those are very stressful times for everyone. Exciting, but also stressful for many different reasons. And I'd like to look at them with you tonight and perhaps try to have a better overview of those and try to find ways to get faster to this plateau. So tonight with you, I'd like to breathe in and start and try to look at what's around with an eye of trying to find consensus, because a lot of topics are in such hype cycles are quite open. You hear opinions that are on one side and no opinions on the other side, and a lot of definitions are not clear. We take time to find ways to describe things we do. For example, vibe coding the term was just coined last year, and even now it's misused or not very clear what it means different things to different people. So I would like to first start with those four topics and go into them to see if we can find a consensus on where we stand at in those. And starting with the code ownership. For that, I've used those two axes. On the x-axis, you see I've placed on the far left, not looking at code, and the far right, reviewing each line. And on the other axis, on the bottom, people that are not engineers, and on the top, people that are engineers. And I would like to define tonight. I know it's people have different ways to describe what vibe coding is, but for me, I'd like to keep the definition of vibe coding to people who don't have much experience in engineering and don't also care too much, or they don't look too much at the code. This is for me the pure vibe coding. And I don't dismiss that at all. I think this is a very interesting time to look at and also play around with it. We know that there is limitation, especially as engineers. We know most of the things on there can get scary to us, because a lot of people joke that those will land on us engineers again when they are very coded like that. But for a few things, I think those are quite interesting. For example, everything that is like in the valley of personal software, things there is no really market for, so no one will really build something or something very personalized to you. This is a good way to just build something that you can use, and I think for that, even only that's already quite a cool thing. And there's many examples of that, especially also with kids. My child vibe coded a little website where you can track how often he tracks he wears the eye patches he has to wear every day and get rewards with it and so on. And there is many things you can do like that, especially things you can also throw away. A friend of mine mentioned that they were around playing poker one night and they didn't have anything to write down and they just vibe coded a little interface to help them keep track of the money in their game. So I think if we find the right limits and the right constraints for vibe coding, I think those are interesting to look at. Some people mentioned also this being a great way to prototype more often with real prototypes, which I agree. The only thing there I would say is sometimes depending on who you show those prototypes, it might be hard to explain them that what you see as a prototype is a long stretch until you get it for real with a real software built around it. So this dichotomy is still around, so I would be careful around this. Then there is another type of vibe coding, which I gave it a name just like that, because I think this is the kind of vibe coding we as engineers do. I call it ditch coding because it needs, in my opinion, to have this aspect of being disposable or easily replaceable. And I think this also has a use case. The use cases are most often in areas where you're as an engineer, you don't have enough knowledge to build something that, and this gives you great way to extend your knowledge and just building it. But there again, the limits of this is quite it's hard to find, and especially also self-discipline on realizing that what you're about to ditch code like that might become a very central piece that will need to be maintained. So, but for I think we'll see more and more use of this also for very small what you used as dependencies in the past, where you had for example an npm dependency which is just one function that does something very, very well. I think those kind of things can also in the future be vibe coded directly inside the code base to not have to have these dependency around. And then the last part is, I think, I would say the biggest part, of course, as you know about it, which I call AI-assisted coding. There is also many names, again, typical for Hype Cycle, many names for it: AI-assisted coding, AI-augmented coding, and so on. I would say the question of code ownership is the most important, and I would say especially for the code we write for our jobs and the things we write as professionals, the more we try to discipline ourselves to review each line that is generated, the better for the future, because we need someone to maintain this and to understand how to continue with the code that was generated. I think this is the what I interpret from hearing and listening and reading a lot about different people. I think we are going in that direction, that we still really want people to know what code was generated and be the owner of those codes. Okay. Then the problem junior and versus senior gap. This has a big is a big topic also. The question below this is that now that problem solving and code generation became much easier, there is no problems that arise, and those problems tend to touch more the people with less experience in our field. The first problem is the lack of need to research and learn, because everything is done for you by AI. You don't really know. You don't really need to go and search and research, which was actually the way we used to learn in the past, like by doing, what we were always saying, learning by doing. But this is a bit less true nowadays, that we are not learning by, especially directly by doing. So there again, I think one of the important topic will be to have the discipline to learn more. Before I talk about this topic again, the other problem is the more you use those AI tools to generate the code, of course, the more you need judgment to review those codes, the code that was generated. So also there, the problem, it is a problem for people with less experience, which have less ways to find out or know in advance which ways to go to. And for those two topics, I think the skill we need to learn is to have the humility to relearn to learn, meaning that with those technology, we need to be able to say and recognize that it is important to understand why something was generated, and to know what is behind. There is great ways, and I would say this is even the best time actually to do this, because there is amazing ways with AI to learn about topics, and I think we need to find ways to dedicate time to this, rather than always focusing on having the solution or any solution and continuing that. Okay, fourth topic is about the efficiency gains. There was, as I mentioned before, there was a lot of talk about how much more effective our engineers will become with AI. And when I look at, and from what I hear, I don't see that happening, at least currently. What I see reported, and from what I hear also, the gains are rather in the range of 20 to 40% more effective. But again, this is on one side, it's really hard to measure, because of the topic I just mentioned before, like you might be faster, but you learn less. But still, like even that, okay, it's not the 10x that was mentioned, but that's still very big, and still, in my opinion, worth looking at and researching, continuing to see how we can apply AI for coding better. While adoption was really fast, in a very few, I would say perhaps 2 years, we grew up to 80% of adoption, which I think is on the Stack Overflow survey also. 80% of the engineers are using AI to code. But I would recommend there also to learn to use. I would say learning is actually very hard to use AI efficiently, and there is very few solutions that are mature yet. And there is a lot of we apply AI or use the tools we get from AI without really, but yeah, we each of us find out how to best use those. There is no best practices. Well, there is raising best practices, but it's very slow, much slower than people say. So the last tip I would say for this is, while the 20 to 30% might not be what was promised, I would say also that I think we need to make also there to have the discipline to use this time that we gain to not only produce more but in better quality. I'll come back on that topic. Then the last point, I need to go a bit faster. So about if is a big question about will we still need developers? And very shortly, from where I stand, from where I read, and from what I read, and especially also from what I use, the different tools and what I experience with, I still don't see any sign we will not need engineers to create software anymore. And this starts to become a bit of a sentiment that we share among us engineers. Although we are not sure, we might be surprised again. I'm also open to see more coming, but for now, I don't see engineers disappearing completely from the creation software creation process. The question of how many, if we will have more, if we will have less, or the same amount of engineers, this is something I think there is less consensus, and it's very hard to predict at the moment. Okay, then I would like to speak a bit about the journey or the spectrum of relationship, or like the relationship status the engineers have with AI for coding. And I made here 5 categories. The first one is are the AI abstainers, those actively reject AI tools for many different reasons, sometimes all at the same time, sometimes one in particular. They can be ethical, environmental, or health concerns, and they just reject using AI for coding. Then the second group is the AI skeptics. Those rarely use AI. Usually they have tried it out, had bad experiences, or were not really happy with it. And they also often mention that the cognitive load of the job changing is something they don't want, so they mostly do without AI. Then we have the AI pragmatists. Those selectively use AI. They mostly prompt most of the time, but the most of the code they write is still from them. They just get help from AI. Then there is the AI assisted coders. Those default to AI for code generation, and so they use AI as a partner to create the code. And then the last category is about AI native coders. Those go even a step further. They experiment with AI for everything, also around generating code, and yeah. Now I would like, before I continue, and then I can get a drink before we continue. I would really appreciate if you give me a signal a bit on where you think, or where you judge yourself in in those. So if you can post in chat, if you're like let's say from 1 to 5, in which category you think or you place yourself. And while you do that, I want also to mention those are especially the they're not levels for me. Like it's not I didn't name it like this because I think those are not goals per se to move to one or another. I think I respect everyone's opinion on how they do, and I think I would like to have the discussion rather on what the differences are between those two. So thank you for your answers. I see a lot of 3, 4, some 5s. Good. That's good to see to have a bit of information about this. Good. So now I'd like to use the last minutes I have for this talk to go a bit deeper into those different relationship statuses we have with AI, and offer tips on if you want to try out something further. And the first is about AI abstinence, and for this group of people, I actually don't want to convince them to try out more. I think I respect a lot those who don't want to use AI for coding at all, for many different reasons. Especially, I'm a very also wary of the environmental and ethical questions. My current position is that the AI is already such a tsunami that and is already taking our field by storm, that our only path to solve and to work on those issues is to use this technology to get there. Because if we don't, only the ones who don't really care about those will be better or using those tools for creating code. Then the AI skeptics, they, as I mentioned, they don't really reject AI, but they rarely use it. As I mentioned, they had bad experiences, and the cognitive load I already mentioned. For those I have, for those people, I have 3 tips, or also for people who know people who are in this field. I think the first first part is about coming with from the side of love rather than fear. I mentioned the phrase before: you won't lose your job to AI, you lose your job to somebody who uses AI. I think we should rather use something else than fear to convince people to try out this kind of technology. I'm a firm believer that those are hard times also on people, and I would rather try to convince people how by showing them how this makes the things they could get to are really feeling like superpowers, like I feel when I write code. The second tip would be to start with the autocomplete functionality. If you like all those who are in the 3, 4, 5 categories know about this already, but I would say autocomplete assisted by AI is one of the most mature and amazing features there is out there. Because autocomplete, of course, meaning whenever you write code, your code code is proposed to you, and this got much better. If you haven't used it lately, it's amazing nowadays. It even uses what you have in your copy paste function to as a context to paste something or to generate some code. It's able to do multi-line editing at the same time in one autocomplete. And there is this meme about this tab functionality, which means that you basically don't need to think about writing code anymore. You just start to write something and then hit tab all the time, because quite often the AI really knows what you will do next. And then obviously to go more into to using AI for coding, I think one really important part is to learn the basics. And sadly, for now, this hasn't been around, and it's starting only now to get to be taught and explained. Until now, people have devs need to find out by themselves where those things are and learn by themselves and try together. I don't have time to show you the example I wanted to do, but it's really important I would say, to really learn the basics about prompting, what context is, how context, if you know about it, how context impacts on your prompt and what comes in there, the system prompts and the tool usages, and how each time you post a message, the prompt is actually, like, the whole context is sent again, and so on. Those things are really important to learn to be able to get to better results. Then for the AI pragmatists, those, as I said, use AI selectively, mostly with prompting. And often they mention it's hard to get to good results. It feels like a lot more work to get the code that we want. They prefer coding than reviewing code, which the job changes a lot for them. Mostly they use mostly AI for knowledge they don't have, meaning to research how to do something in a technology that they are not often using. So advices for them. The important part to go is then to learn to tame the genie. You can see AI, and this parallel has been around since a few weeks now, about comparing AI to a genie, which usually grants your wishes, but in a weird way, or in a way that is not exactly like you want. And to tame the AI genie, there is a lot of tools around, or things around in the tools that we use: memory, commands, rules, the agents, and MD, how to get up-to-date documentation for the AIs, commands, connecting the right amount and the good MCPs that are around. And so this is, I would say, after the AI basics for coding, I think those are the things I would recommend to look at to be able to provide the better results for your prompts. And then there is much more, of course, as you know, than just prompting and getting code, and prompting and getting code. Of course, we got agent mode and planning mode in the past few months also, which are amazing ways to to ping pong between the two and come up with a plan with one and then implement it with the other. And even since a few weeks now, even more than a few weeks now, the Cloud Code and lately the other tools like Cursor, Codex, OpenCode, and so on took again a big leap into to the AI for coding world. Again, with a big wave, which a lot of people move to that are experienced with those tools. So I would recommend to play around with those, because you will find better ways or more efficient ways and better results to what you want to achieve. And the last part is about embracing this role change. Yes, it is changing from to review more. You will review more code, and you will instead of focusing more on problem solving, you will more focus on problem framing, explaining what the real problem is. But I would say, as I said, I think it's important to embrace this, because in the end, programming has always been more than just producing code. And I personally believe that we've been just busy with the code part and the solution part. And I welcome this also AI for coding for that it gets us a bit closer to the user, who will actually like to make us feel and define what the users should see from the tools that we create. And then the last group are the advices for the AI assisted coders. For those who use already those agents, there is also a lot of things to experiment with, which are really fun outside of just generating code. And on the process of defining what needs to be done, there is this so-called spec-driven development, which is also a term that has been a bit more defined in the past few weeks with GitHub's spec kit, or there is a BMAD methodology. Those are about having agents to create your the documents that you will then let the different agents implement, and have subject agents and so on. And it's a very interesting topic. If you're around in Zurich on Friday, I think, if I'm not mistaken, there is a web Zurich meetup where someone will, which I don't know actually, but someone will talk about the BMAD methodology. And then there is our tools and to play around. Background agents are those utilities where you prompt something and the agent goes around doing it in the background. So that can be from the website, GitHub and Cursor and all those have this functionality now. There is a lot of course around creating agentic workflows, creating agents in those workflows with namely also with NLN. And in general, I would recommend to play around and look at what is around in your company, what you want to improve with AI rather on top of just producing code. Then be critical. I've put there 3 of my sources of people that actually are, I don't know if I would name it haters of AI, but they talk about a lot about AI for coding and how bad it is. For example, Ethan Marquardt, you might know from the one who coined the responsiveness term. He published I think last week, or perhaps even this week, an article where he declares for himself that AI has been a failure. I think to listen and to read those things is really important for us to listen to these critical voices and include those especially in this hype cycle. And the last point to finish this presentation is about using AI to solve your weaknesses. I have a friend when we were on a sabbatical in San Francisco that lent us his tandem. And I was with my partner back then, and we took this tandem, and he said to us that the tandem wherever your relationship is going, a tandem bike will get you faster there. We found that really funny, and I think this is particularly true also with AI for coding. So I would say that wherever your engineering culture is heading, AI will get you there faster. And this has a lot of upsides, but some downsides also, meaning that if you're a company that is focused that rather moves fast and breaks things around and doesn't care too much about failure, but tries to move on, you will achieve more, you will produce more, but at the same time, the downsides of this methodology will be also bigger, and you might face consequences that you didn't have to face with in the past. And the inverse is also true, or like for every different way you do engineering. So I would recommend to use AI for fixing also what you're not great yet, instead of only using it to advance what you're good at. So focus on the fundamentals of coding principle, and don't underestimate the human aspect of it also, as we are used to have those agile processes. There is the sum up of the advices I just gave you, and I want to leave you with those 3 skills I think we need as engineers in this AI assisted coding area. The first is the humility to relearn, to learn, that I mentioned. The second is the love, coming from a love side instead of a fear side. And the last is about having the discipline to stop and resist the urge to use the fast path. That was it. Well, I think we are done with the time. I don't know if we have time for 2 more questions. Well, I try to read them in the chat. Here's how you can get in touch with me for user-centered projects and web apps. I'd love to help you with my company at Zyx. I do a bit of coaching and individually and for teams about those topics. And the last point is I just added it because it's only a project of mine. I'm starting to think about creating a course about AI for coding, the topics I mentioned in this talk. If you're interested by that, just write me an email and I'll contact you once this shapes up a bit more. So I'm part of a company whose leadership is forcing AI a lot on engineers, but the current tooling results are not great, but not bad either. Do you have some advice to share to push back constructively there? So if I understand right, the question right is about the tooling or the limits of how to use when we see the latest technologies that is out there, and then we are faced with the with those limits that we have internally? That's a hard question. There is also a lot of companies that are even more restricted by mostly by data protection and so on. The only thing is I think we need to do with what is around. This is a inherent problem, or it is attached to what AI is. That based on using tools that are less secure, and it's harder. We are not there yet to have, well, we have good models to write code from locally and so on, but this is part of this cycle that it will take a few more years until this becomes the norm of having a good quality of AI for coding in companies. So for now, the only advice I have is to either stay there and try to push forward and try to convince with love, as I said, or decide for yourself to find some other place, which if you want to grow into that. You talked about the problem of disappearance of learning by doing, and you encourage engineers to still learn. With the progress we see in the field of AI and with what can be expected in the next, let's say 5-10 years, do you still think we're worthwhile to do it the hard way and join the learning path? Yes, I do. Well, 5 to 10 years is a long timeline for me, I would say, but learning, as I mentioned, learning got also easier. So I think there is so many good techniques with AI to learn about things. One of my coachee, for example, added a line to its system prompt or its memory prompt that each time it has it comes up with a solution that is a bit more complex. It adds a line that proposes to explain this solution with this Eli 5 explain me like I'm 5, which is the first step to already. So each time the AI produces some code with the new technology, then it will also propose to explain a bit deeper into what it did, if it's worth. And yes, I think there is no way around doing the learning.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Joël. This was a really insightful talk. Thank you for joining us tonight. Check out the program and the recording on YouTube and give us a quick rating, and a big thanks to Joël for this for presenting us today.
Thank you all.